Hey you guys, this is Jonathan Abbott back here with you today. I'm going to talk to you guys today about five films that I feel are severely underrated. Now you may disagree with the underrated part because especially with this first movie that I'm going to mention here. The first movie I'm going to mention is called, and you've probably seen it or heard of it at least, it's called Paprika. Now, this film I would consider to be underrated for a lot of reasons. Main thing being that a lot of people, when they think about like dreams and shit like that, movies that have to do with dreams, they immediately think, oh, Inception. You know, Inception's one of the most unique films I've ever seen that has like dream sequences in it and stuff like that. But in reality, the film that was the inspiration for Inception was this great animated classic that I feel is underrated in the part where a lot of people give kudos to Christopher Nolan for being such a genius, and kudos to him for making a masterpiece. And I believe he did state that Paprika was a main inspiration on Inception, which is still a great movie, whichever way you look at it. But this movie's even better in my opinion. Just the imagination you can get on screen with animation compared to what you could do with live action. They do such incredible things with the animation, such incredible dazzling visuals, a lot of really creepy, haunting imagery throughout too, which makes it all the better. Like, this is a great film to mention as an underrated classic. Paprika, highly recommend it. Anyhow, number two I'm going to mention here is a little film. I got a little piece of paper just because I got a bad memory, so I got to write it down just to make sure I'm not forgetting any. Next film is called The Station Agent. Now, this is a film that I think fans of Game of Thrones will really like because it's got our boy Tyrion Lannister, aka, well, in reality, his name is Peter Dinklage. But this is a really underrated movie. This went under my radar for years, you know. So this was a really great film to finally catch and watch, and I just loved it. The chemistry between these three main cast members is just extraordinary, man. These are three fine performances. Everybody in the film is great. All the supporting characters are really interesting. It's got this nice, pleasant, small town vibe. There's not much to the movie. It's just about these three characters. It's very much a character study. There's not much of a story going on here. But if you like character films with great acting, you'll really appreciate The Station. The Station. There I go again, fucking up my wording. You'll really enjoy The Station Agent, and I really highly recommend that you give it a shot if you're a fan of these type of movies. Okay, anyhow, moving on to number three. On here, I got a foreign film, actually. This is one that I feel deserves a lot more recognition. This is one of the best action crime movies I've seen in a long time, and if you loved the two Raid films, the Raid Redemption and the Raid 2, then you'll really love A Bittersweet Life. This movie came out in early 2000s. It's got the same actor from another super underrated movie called I Saw the Devil that came out around 2010, somewhere around there. But it's A Bittersweet Life. This is such a brilliant movie, man. Even if you liked... It reminds me a lot, too, of Jet Li's Unleashed. That was also starring Morgan Freeman and Bob Hoskins. That was a really great movie, too. So if you liked either... what was that called? The subtitle for that movie is called Danny the Dog. Yeah, I'd highly recommend A Bittersweet Life. This has got great action sequences, very dark humor throughout, too. There's this one scene closer to the end that had me cracking up just because of these characters and how it all ends, and it's very surprising. This movie's got a lot of twists and turns. It really surprised me, and I actually had this film spoiled for me by this awesome music video I saw featuring the song Every Day is Exactly the Same by 9 Inch Nails. So I'd recommend also that you check out that music video, but I'd say watch that music video that somebody on YouTube made. I'll put the link in the comments section below, or the description below, so you can check it out. I highly recommend that music video, but I even more strongly recommend that you check out this movie before watching the music video like I did, because I knew in my head, you know, okay, like this is going to happen and that's going to happen. So I had basically the whole movie mapped out for me. But either way, it doesn't matter what you have spoiled for you. This is still a thrilling experience. One of the greatest action movies of all time, in my opinion. And I really hope more people get the chance to experience it. All right, number 2. And wow, this one is a real horrifying, shocking, amazing movie. Well acted, extremely well acted. In my opinion, this is the greatest Vincent Price performance I've ever seen. And the fact that this film isn't more popularized, you know, this director only made 2 movies. And I still have yet to see the first one. I forget what it's called, but this was his second movie, or maybe even his first movie. I don't know. I'll have to double check later on. But this is such a great movie. It's called Witchfinder General. It came out in the 70s, early 70s, but it was on the shelf for decades. It just came out in like 2005 or something like that. And you know, what a shame that it didn't get the attention that it deserved in the 70s, because even for the 70s, this is a real shocking movie. Like, some of the violence, like, it's not even that bloody or violent, but like you feel for these characters that are being tortured and punished throughout the course of this film. And it's really brutal. It literally will have a lasting impact on you. This is a genuine horror, suspense, action movie. Like, it's got almost a Western feel. It's such a great movie, man. It literally boggled my mind that I had never heard of or even seen this movie before watching it with a friend of mine. So yeah, I would highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, give Witchfinder General a chance, especially if you love horror movies. With like it's not action packed, like I said, horror action, but it's like and it's based in reality too, so that's what makes it really like it really gets under your skin, the notion that, hey, this actually happened, and that this is such a terrifying, tragic circumstance with these piece of shit Witchfinder General types. You know, like, Vincent Price is the main character, but he is an evil son of a bitch, and his sidekick is arguably even worse, but they're both on par with each other. They're both pieces of trash. You just want to see them like get the worst of the worst by the end of the movie. And I won't spoil it, but you know, like just expect a lot of bad shit to happen, and it's just a brilliant film. I don't want to spoil any more for you if you haven't seen it. Witchfinder General, featuring Vincent Price, absolute masterpiece. One of the finest movies from the 70s that I've ever had the pleasure of seeing, even though it's a very haunting film that will stick in my nightmares for a long time. Like, especially the torture scenes, they're just terrifying. But anyhow, number 1 finally, and this is one of my favorite films of all time, easily. This will always rank at least in top 5 for me of my all-time favorite movies. I was just so staggered when I watched this movie for the first time. It's got a great cast. The 2 leads especially are phenomenal, Michael Shannon and Jessica Chastain. I'm talking about Take Shelter. This film is a masterpiece. This film reminds me very much of a like almost toned down David Lynch film. Like, it's got that nice small town vibe where, you know, you get to like all these characters. You know, like there's not really an antagonist in this film. The antagonist is the main character's Curtis's nightmares. You know, we start the film and he's immediately having dreams about this apocalyptic storm. He's catching these drops of like oil, like rain that is like oil on his hand, and you know that gives him the mentality that, oh my god, the apocalypse is coming, so I've got to protect my family. I've got to warn everybody, you know, and he tries to, but he's a smart enough character to know that, you know, people won't automatically believe me when it comes to saying, you know, hey, like there's a apocalyptic storm coming up, like I saw it in my dream, please believe me. You know, obviously people are going to think he's insane, and he's a smart enough character to realize that. And that's the main thing I really love about this movie. And a lot of these type of movies where characters are having dreams or nightmares of this variety, they act very erratic, and like they suddenly become like stupid almost somewhat. And this movie's not like that. It totally cuts that bullshit out, and you got a brilliant character study here, and the ending is very ambiguous, which I love. I won't spoil it obviously here, but it's a very ambiguous movie. You'll be asking yourself, okay, was that a dream or was this reality? Throughout the entire experience, in my opinion. Like, I find this movie super rewatchable. I could watch this movie any day of the week. The actors are brilliant. The story's brilliant. The cinematography, the music, everything about this movie's on point and brilliant. And the fact that this movie didn't get serious awards recognition is really pathetic, in my opinion. Shame on the Academy Awards for not recognizing this movie. At the very least, these two leads, Michael Shannon and Jessica Chastain, should have been nominated for Best Actor and Actress, respectively, because it doesn't matter who the hell else was in the running that year. These guys pulled in two brilliant performances. Like, this movie is literally one of the most human films I've ever seen. Like, these characters feel so real, it's almost like you know them. And I love movies like that really make you sympathize and care about these characters and relate to them. And you really learn to like every character in this film. It's just so amazing how natural every actor comes across in this film. And the direction is just so wonderful. Jeff Nichols, you are a master, my friend. I can't wait to see Midnight Special. I already saw Mud. I like that movie as well. But in my opinion, this will probably always be my favorite movie of his. Take Shelter. I have yet to see Shotgun Story, so maybe that will be another movie that'll impress me along the same lines as Take Shelter, because that's also got Michael Shannon in it. I mean, that's why I love Jeff Nichols. I mean, he's always using Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon's one of my favorite actors, and now Jeff Nichols is one of my favorite filmmakers working today. I really hope he gets to... I'd love to see how he could tackle a big budget movie, because he's really got an eye for great performances and like dazzling visuals, and this film is no exception. It's one of the finest movies I'll ever see in my life, and of all the films I have listed on here today, this is the one I'd recommend the most. You gotta check out Take Shelter. It's a very dark movie. Like I said, if you like David Lynch films, you'll probably really like this film a lot, because it has to do with dreams and and smart characters, and like very weird like circumstances happen, especially in these dreams. Like, they're very haunting images throughout this movie that really still genuinely get to me when rewatching it. And I always rewatch this film like just to like put it together in my mind, like, okay, this is that, and this is a dream, and that's reality. And you know, there are so many layers to this movie, in my opinion. It's like peeling back an onion. There's so much to unravel, and the everlasting onion, you know, except it's tasty. And well, actually, it'll probably make you cry at one point too, because it always gets me tearing up, especially by the end of the movie. There's this really powerful scene involving the three characters. I won't spoil what it is, but they also have a deaf little girl in the movie. She's brilliant as well, brilliant actress. Everybody in this film's brilliant. I highly recommend this film, and I hope the best for everybody that worked on this film. Yeah, they deserve the best careers in Hollywood as far as I'm concerned. Anyhow, that'll be it. I just wanted to make this a quick little video for you guys because I believe WhatCulture, forgive me if I'm mistaken, but I believe WhatCulture recently came out with a top 10 underrated films, and they also included a lot of great films that I really loved too. In particular, the top two they named, The Fall, and they named another one too. Like another underrated film, I guess I could like name drop as well here because I forget what their second pick was. I remember The Fall because I love that movie. That movie's one of the greatest films I've ever seen, and it's I just didn't want to overlap WhatCulture mentioned on their list. So and also another underrated film before I forget, since The Disaster Artist is coming out later this year, is a little film called Ed Wood. You may have seen this, but surprisingly a lot of my friends haven't seen this. Like, I'm always mentioning this to people or listening it on my favorite films of all time, and like a shocking number of people haven't seen this movie, and it's easily Tim Burton's and Johnny Depp's finest movie. Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi is brilliant. The whole cast is brilliant. The movie looks delightful, and it's one of the most uplifting movies you'll ever have the pleasure of experiencing in your life, at least in my opinion. If this movie doesn't make you feel warm and fuzzy inside by the end, then there's got to be something wrong with you. You know, I'd highly recommend going to the doctor to check to see if your heart's still beating, because you may be a zombie if you don't get a positive reaction from Ed Wood from the 90s. Yeah, this is a really brilliant film. All these films I mentioned, in my opinion at least, are really brilliant. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments if you got any underrated films that I should check out that you love. I'd love to hear it. Anyway, I hope you guys have a fantastic day or night, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.